Tonight, the AFL Roar set to return to the MCG. Special live coverage from inside the stadium and across the city. Melbourne legends and fans set to celebrate as sporting history unfolds. And innocent truck drivers brush with death after a horror act on our roads. A remarkable show of defiance in Kyiv as world leaders send a message to Russia. A COVID spike as Victoria enters a new chapter of the pandemic. And the schools helping Victoria achieve top marks in the NAPLAN tests.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening and welcome to the MCG on an important step in Melbourne's revival. We're now just over an hour away from the return of the AFL Roar, rebooting football in Victoria and the city. This is a look from above the ground. The AFL is predicting a crowd of up to 80,000 tonight for the grand final rematch. 7 News has exclusive access inside the G for live coverage of the build-up, the unfurling of the premiership flag for Melbourne and the latest from inside the team rooms. Tim Watson is boundary side this evening, and Tim, the AFL couldn't have scripted a better opening night.
Mitch, you're right, it's a dream start. Demons are out in force to see their club unfurl its first premiership flag since 1964. Bulldogs fans are here for revenge after last year's grand final heartache. And make no mistake, these two clubs don't like each other. It really is developing into a fierce modern-day rivalry. But as the men get set to start their season, the AFLW finals have been thrown into turmoil. Collingwood's qualifying final against the Lions on Saturday has been postponed because of a COVID outbreak. 7 News understands up to 17 players are impacted. It's another reminder, Mitch, to both the AFL and AFLW how quickly things can change.
They certainly can. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. The MCG is facing its first crowd crush since the Boxing Day test. And Jade Vincent is outside Gate 3 on the concourse this evening. Jade, it's organised chaos out there.
Mitch, the fans are streaming back into the MCG. So far, it's been a pretty smooth operation getting through the gates. The fans have been ready with their phones to check in and show their vaccination certificates. And they arrived early because they wanted to soak up this electric atmosphere outside the ground. Already so much anticipation and so much emotion. The only hiccup so far, the halftime fireworks show has been cancelled. The MC says for reasons outside of its control. But certainly round one will still go off with a bang.
Footy's back! Yeah!
A pilgrimage back to Melbourne's spiritual home.
We're back! We're here! We're home! How are you feeling being back at the G?
Loving it. It's fantastic.
Fans converge on the MCG for a grand final rematch that's set to reboot our city.
We couldn't miss this. We couldn't miss this. There's no way known.
Demons and Bulldogs diehards pouring out of trams and trains in scenes reminiscent of life before the pandemic. A footy crowd back at the G for the first time since last July. But QR code check-ins and vaccine passports are still required on entry.
All the COVID rules, they've actually decreased. So once you're in, you can go to bars, go to the restaurants.
Come, have a great time. We're getting back to the way we've always enjoyed our footy.
The AFL is tipping this round one to be the biggest ever. For Melbourne, the siren sounds to kickstart business recovery.
This is all about how we live with the virus. As we head into winter, we know there are going to be increased concerns, and we don't want people to hibernate. We want them to keep coming into the city.
With the return of large crowds and a recent spike in COVID cases, this week looms as a test case for both footy and fans' willingness to sit in the stands.
Ready to scan into the MCG.
It will be an extra special night for the Melbourne Football Club.
Billie Jean King always said is you earn pressure. You deserve it, you get pressure because you're good. And we are good.
Footy's back at the G, and these fans can't wait to spend the next 2 hours forgetting the past 2 years of turmoil.
Go D's!
Get the mighty Bulldogs!
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
The Demons are issuing a call to arms to toast their premiership glory. Nick McCallum is at Melbourne's official president's function this evening. Nick, it's sure to be an emotional night for club greats.
It certainly will be, Peter. You can just imagine they're up and about in there at the moment. A short time ago, Melbourne President Kate Roffey presented the premiership flag to David Neitz, the game's record holder. He and 7 other Demon legends will escort the flag onto the ground for the flag-raising ceremony. It's the club's way of letting the legends know they're a part of this and they're deeply moved. Let's have a listen.
It'll represent all the eras, the really big struggle that it's been for the Melbourne Football Club to win this thing.
Oh, probably emotional. I haven't stopped crying since the grand final, so I'm not normally emotional, but something about this premiership's been something really special, not only to me, but obviously all the Melbourne people.
Over the moon, and just the fact that they would invite me to do it is just something special in my life.
Very exciting time for those players like myself that weren't able to play in a premiership side for the club.
The players themselves won't be on the ground for the premiership flag raising, but they do say when they run on, they're expecting to see plenty of grown men in tears. Mitch?
Thank you, Nick. And as you'd expect, hotels, bars and restaurants around the MCG are packed for tonight's AFL return. Jackie Felgate is in Richmond. And Jackie, it's an opening round bonanza for local traders again.
It certainly is, Mitch. It has been a long time between drinks for these fans, and they are in full voice tonight. And why wouldn't they be? Pubs like the London Tavern here in Richmond have been brought to their knees due to COVID, due to the pandemic, and simply being unable to open for 2 years. But tonight, as you can see, the venue is absolutely packed, and we're expecting scenes like this to happen throughout the week because we've got 4 big games at the MCG. Of course, they've served 150 Palmers in an hour. There's a few dog supporters here, but mostly it is Melbourne fans. I've looked out for some cheese boards, Mitch, but I haven't seen any just yet. A Palmer and a pot is the order of the day. They've got plenty to celebrate, and why wouldn't they as the city comes back to life?
Sounds great. Thank you very much indeed, Jackie. Now the all-important weather forecast. And Jane Bunn, how are conditions looking for the opening bounce?
Well, Mitch, there was a bit of light rain earlier, but no more. It hurt. The footy is back and it cleared out just in time. The high humidity will make sure it doesn't cool down. We'll remain in the low 20s tonight. I'll have more shortly, Mitch.
Thanks very much, Jane, and we'll check in with you and Tim a little later tonight. Now, let's go to Rebecca Madden in the 7 News studio. And Beck, there's been a remarkable show of unity in Ukraine.
Mitch, unity and defiance in a message to the world and Russia. 3 prime ministers have risked their lives to go to Kyiv to show they stand with Ukraine. Tonight, the besieged capital is being pounded as artillery attacks escalate.
A day and night of relentless shelling. Russia's attack intensifies on Kyiv as the city goes into lockdown, a 35-hour curfew at a critical moment. But none of it deterred an incredible act of bravery. A remarkable meeting. 3 NATO prime ministers risking their lives for solidarity. They travelled by train into war-zone Ukraine, Kyiv, as the bombs fell. The Czech Republic, Slovenia and Poland. They met in President Zelensky's bunker, doing more than standing with Ukraine. They literally stood beside its leader.
We will never leave you alone. We will be with you.
An extraordinary moment in a country battling for its very existence. Here, another Ukrainian city smoulders, a crater where people used to be. Russia appears hell-bent on destroying town after town. The capital, Kyiv, no exception. Apartment blocks, government offices, a new high-rise tower. And this metro station, just 4 kilometres from the city centre, where President Zelensky is running the war and meeting the rest of the world's leaders by Zoom. A virtual address to Canada's Parliament, a standing ovation. after making a major concession on a key Russian demand that may bring a breakthrough for peace.
Ukraine is not a member of NATO. We have heard for years about open doors, but we have already heard that we won't be able to join. It's the truth, and it's necessary to admit it.
There are, though, increasing fears for his safety. He refuses to move even as the bombing draws close.
But as the noose around Kyiv starts to tighten, the options for President Zelensky's escape start to radically narrow. But one of the most talked about possible routes out of here is this: Kyiv's labyrinth, extensive network of metro lines and Soviet-built tunnels, one of which goes right under his government buildings. They've left the train here deliberately, 6 carriages and the doors unlocked so that people can come in here and use this as accommodation. The seats, of course, become beds, far warmer staying in here than the cold outside of the marble platform.
And far safer than most places above. Like this, the casualties grow, including those who send these pictures home. A Fox News cameraman and his Ukrainian producer killed. Their vehicle struck by incoming fire. Colleague Benjamin Hall, married to an Australian, is critical.
We will defend our city. It's our homes.
But how much will be left standing when it's over? In Kyiv, Chris Reason, 7 News.
And Chris Reason managed to get out of Kyiv before the curfew. Chris, you've been hearing explosions throughout the night and also into the morning.
Yeah, Beck, good evening to you. Look, it did not stop. It was so much artillery fire, more than we've seen in and around Kyiv since this conflict began. Local sources telling us, though, that there was as much outgoing as there was incoming. In other words, an artillery slugfest between these two nations. How much damage has been done to the capital, we simply do not know because, of course, the curfew is underway, so people are either locked in their homes or down in underground bomb shelters. We know, though, that we're broadcasting to you, as you say, from outside the city limits, so we're able to give you some sense of it. But inside, of course, President Zelensky holed up in his bunker today. He will make an appeal later on to the US Congress, begging again for more assistance from the West. Beck.
Okay, Chris Reason, thank you. China has branded the United States as immoral and irresponsible for suggesting it plans to aid Russia's war efforts. But Beijing has confirmed it will continue business as usual with Moscow despite global sanctions.
This war has turned nearly 3 million Ukrainians into refugees. We're going to be able to quickly ramp up our response and help alleviate the suffering that Putin's war is causing.
US President Joe Biden has committed $13 billion to weapons and aid in Ukraine. A truck driver has survived a close call after an unthinkable attack on our roads. He escaped with bruises when a chunk of concrete was hurled from an overpass and smashed through his windscreen. Police say he could have easily been killed.
Jim Pollock cheated death when a concrete block crashed through his windscreen as he drove his truck up the Western Freeway.
Getting ready to go, cranking up the hill, and wham. I just didn't know what hit me. It just went off like a bomb in the cab. Glass shattered everywhere.
The heavy chunk was tossed from a pedestrian overpass and struck Jim square in the chest. In the darkness, he slammed on the brakes and managed to pull over, but couldn't see anyone up above.
I actually thought I hit a bird, because birds always fly in front of the trucks, and then I realised there was a lump of concrete sitting on my lap.
Shaken, Jim went to hospital for a checkup. Doctors told him a few centimetres higher and it could have been fatal.
Thank God I'm a fairly big fella, and I took the brunt of it on the chest.
Police believe the concrete was deliberately thrown onto the freeway. They now want to speak with anyone who witnessed the incident in the hope of tracking down the person responsible.
For the conduct that's happened, you have a reckless conduct endanger life. At the end of the day, this is an extremely serious incident. It could have killed him.
Man up and come forward, because there's no need for this. It's just crazy. If it's a game to break a windscreen, fine, but there's a person behind the windscreen.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
The so-called son of Omicron is now the most dominant COVID variant in Victoria. It's believed to be behind a spike in cases just as there are changes to the vaccination rollout before winter arrives.
At the height of demand, thousands queued daily outside the Royal Exhibition Building. Numbers are down to dozens a day. It'll be packed up in a week.
Museums Victoria, not unreasonably, want their building back.
The state vaccine program shifting focus to pop-up clinics in suburbs below the triple dose state average of 62%.
That's what we've been saying since December. Put those services in locations where people are. Don't necessarily expect them to come to the city.
What I'd say to all Victorians is, winter is coming. We are now in a position where you need to ensure you've had your third dose protection.
Victoria's cases have doubled in a week. The state recorded more than 9,400 today. 8 people with COVID died. Wastewater results show the more infectious Omicron sub-variant BA2 now accounts for half of all cases. But experts say it's no more dangerous.
We're seeing the same patterns that with high vaccination rates, you don't see high hospitalisation numbers, just like with BA1s.
2/3 of Victorians are getting their third jab when they become eligible 3 months after their second. But there are still 1.7 million Victorians now overdue for their booster. More than 70% of vaccinations are now delivered at GPs and pharmacies. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
And returning now to Peter Mitchell. Mitch, we're just under an hour away from the opening bounce, getting exciting.
It is indeed, Beck, the countdown well and truly on to the grand final rematch tonight. And Tim Watson, we've got reporters with both teams this evening.
We do, Mitch. Tom Brown is with the Demons, Mitch Cleary with the Bulldogs. Tom, we'll go to you first. Melbourne has gone from the Hunters to the Hunted this season.
Tim, Melbourne acutely aware they're now the Hunt's head. They're sourcing motivation from winning here at the MCG this year, also sourcing motivation from this, attack on Simon Goodwin and talk of this rivalry with the Bulldogs during the off-season. Tim, tonight there's an AFLW COVID crisis that's got implications for Hawthorn. I'll have more shortly on that in sport.
Cleary, the Bulldogs will be out for revenge tonight.
Tim, they chose not to watch the grand final as a team over summer, but will be here tonight as the Demons unfurl their flag. There's been a late change twist tonight. Lockie Hunter reports he wasn't going to play. The Dogs named him. Well, in fact, he's out of the 22 and will be a sub. The Dogs dropping Stephen Martin out of the team as well. Hayden Crozier into the team, along with his teammate Stephen Martin will miss as well. So a massive night here for the Dogs.
It is, thanks Mitch. And Pete, later in sport, a son of a gun to debut at Collingwood and 500 reasons to smile for Craig Bellamy.
Thank you very much, Tim. I think I know who that might be. Now, ahead on this special edition of 7 News, the man accused of killing his ex-wife after turning up to her home. Next, she lived in fear. Now he's standing trial for her murder. The Victorian schools coming out on top in NAPLAN testing. And Nadia Bartel runs into new legal trouble. Welcome back to the MCG. We're about 25 minutes away from a moment Demons fans have been waiting a long time to see, the unfurling of the Premiership flag, and you won't miss a thing right here on 7. A Phillip Island man is fighting a murder charge, denying that he killed his ex-wife, then made her death look like a suicide. Mother of 3, Samantha Fraser, had allegedly been living in fear of her estranged husband.
Samantha Fraser had an intervention order against former husband Adrian Basham when he visited her cow's home in 2018. Hours later, the mum of 3 was found dead. Mr. Basham admits he assaulted her, but has pleaded not guilty to murder. On the first day of his trial, prosecutors said Miss Fraser told loved ones she was scared of her ex because he was tracking her phone. She'd inquired about changing her locks and getting a security system after Mr. Basham allegedly told her, "You never know when someone will break into your house, and if I can't have you, no one will." Prosecutor Nanette Rogers told a jury the accused man murdered his ex-wife and then made it look like a suicide before fleeing. But Mr. Basham's barrister asked jurors to keep an open mind, saying it was possible Ms. Fraser caused her own death after her husband assaulted her. This case is more of a whodunit than anything else. Samantha Fraser had celebrated her 38th birthday the day before she died. The court heard she described it as the beginning of a wonderful new stage in her life. Jurors will visit the home where Ms Fraser died tomorrow. Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
Victorian children have excelled in NAPLAN tests, leading the nation in reading across 3 year levels. But after 2 years of interrupted learning, it was schools outside of Melbourne that came out on top.
The results are in and Victorian children are top of the class. Victorian students in years 3, 5, 7 and 9 recorded results above the national standard across reading, writing, spelling, numeracy, grammar and punctuation.
We've improved in 6 out of the 10 primary school measures. We're leading the nation.
Reading was the state's strong point. Students in years 3, 5 and 9 leading the country. Witchy-Proof College only has 96 students. They recorded the biggest improvement in the state.
Delightful to hear that, 4 years we've been working on improving our writing results. So 2021 was a great year for us.
And overall, country schools excelled.
How our children experienced lockdown was slightly different. We certainly had far more freedoms, and therefore our children have bounced back really quite well.
The good results could be hard to maintain as schools continue to struggle with staff shortages. Today alone, there are 188 teachers off work because they have COVID or are in isolation.
There are certainly stories of principals who are needing to be in the classroom the majority of their time, and that's just not a good indicator for success.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Fashion businesswoman Nadia Bartel has been spared a conviction for driving with a suspended licence. A court heard she didn't know she'd lost her licence because she hadn't updated her mailing address when she moved after splitting with ex-husband Jimmy Bartel. She was fined $1,100. Record petrol prices are putting pressure on everything from cheese to getting a quote from a tradie. Next, why there could be some relief on the way. Also, political high flyers named in a Mean Girls scandal after the death of a Victorian senator. And how inspirational local heroes put their lives on the line to save strangers. Welcome back to the MCG, where the Great Southern Stand is set to be renamed the Shane Warne Stand. The late cricket legend's children and their mother Simone visited the memorial at his statue outside the ground today. They say they're grateful for everyone's support. Petrol prices are holding at record levels, but sliding oil prices could mean relief is on the way. Prices are as high as $2.23 for ULP, but there's still cheaper fuel to be found. In Carlton, there were long queues to fill up, with the price at $1.87 this afternoon. The record prices are putting pressure on everything.
While filling up has become painful for most motorists, it's agony for cab drivers.
For the last 2 weeks, every 2 days, when I fill up a full tank, it's cost me another $35 to $40 extra.
Rideshare services Uber and Didi have added fuel surcharges of around 6 cents a kilometre, but taxi fares are set by the state.
We'll be looking for the government to put in adjustments into the fare schedules to recover the increased cost of fuels.
The list of products and services hit by fuel hikes keeps growing. Bega Cheese is warning of potential double-digit markups for milk and cheese as farmers' costs rise rapidly.
All our inputs, fertilisers, chemicals, fuel, all those sort of things are going up at an alarming rate, really.
Even tradies are cutting back on free quotes because of the driving involved.
But some relief may be in sight. Thanks to tentative moves in the Middle East to release more oil to compensate for Russian sanctions, global prices are beginning to ease.
If this continues, then the falls that we have seen globally with oil prices, we hope will inevitably be passed on here at home.
Singapore benchmark Mogas has tumbled $34 a barrel in a week. Diesel, $64. Gemma Acton, 7 News.
The Labor Party has been rocked by explosive claims of a Mean Girls club following the death of a Victorian senator. Colleagues say Kimberley Kitching was bullied by 3 senior female members of her own party.
Just an hour and a half before she died of a heart attack last week, Labor Senator Kimberley Kitching met close friend Michael Danby at their favourite cafe.
She was in great form. She had a strong soul. I wish her heart had been as strong.
A strong soul who claimed she'd been bullied by the party's Senate leadership, Penny Wong, Christina Keneally and Katie Gallagher, or, as she called them,
the Mean Girls.
Borrowed from the movie, applied to her own treatment over her version of Britain's Magnitsky laws targeting individuals like Russian oligarchs for human rights abuses. Senator Wong rejected her bill outright, but after Senator Kitching arranged for Amal Clooney, wife of actor George Clooney, to support it at a Senate hearing, Penny Wong announced Labor would introduce the laws without crediting her colleague or even telling her first.
I think that the jealousy and envy was very short-sighted. Particularly the people in Victoria made the last year of her life miserable.
Michael Danby says he's not accusing anyone of contributing to Kimberley Kitching's death, but does say she deserves an apology for how she was treated.
I'm simply not going to engage in commentary about some of the allegations which have been raised, even if I and others disagree with them.
Mark Riley, 7 News.
Some of our bravest Victorians have been honoured for their acts of courage. Renzo Brewski is receiving a Bravery Award for rescuing 2 drivers trapped in their vehicles on the Calder Freeway after a tanker smash in 2016.
I think anyone with a heart would have done what I did.
Also among the recipients, 2 passengers on a Malaysian Airlines plane who tackled a man when he threatened to detonate a bomb. Sport is next with Tim Watson and Tim. It's all systems go for the season opener.
Mitch, the crowd is building. The ground looks absolutely perfect and the teams are ready to run out. Up next, the final word from both camps as the Dogs and D's get set to renew hostilities. Tom Brown goes one-on-one with the AFL boss. Could the grand final rematch be a permanent fixture? And the son of a gun ready to excite the Magpie Army. Welcome back inside the MCG for tonight's blockbuster grand final rematch. Mitch Cleary is live on the boundary. And Mitch, you've just spoken with both the Demons and Dogs.
Well, Tim, neither team is shying away from this game having a bit of extra heat. Less than 6 months after last year's grand final. A big change at the Bulldogs. Lockie Hunter out and named the sub for Luke Beveridge's side, while the Demons have swung their own big late change. All-Australian Jake Lever is out of the side with a foot injury in a further blow to the Demons' defence, while Adam Tomlinson will play his first game in 10 months here at the MCG.
He's done an amazing amount of work. 8 months is an incredible story. It's it's a credit to him and just goes to show how fanatical he's been in terms of making sure that he's ready to go.
You'd be probably a little bit disappointed if there wasn't. We played each other in a grand final and they won the premiership. So we haven't played again. To play him in round 1's fantastic. I think it's sensational for a crowd and there'll probably be a little bit of spice in it for sure.
And Tim, some news out west. Nat Fyfe, the dual Brownlow medalist, in significant doubt for Sunday's game for Fremantle against Adelaide. He's carrying a knee injury despite having been past fit from that off-season shoulder injury.
Thanks, Mitch. AFL boss Gillon McLachlan has revealed he's contemplating the grand final rematch being a permanent fixture. Chief football reporter Tom Brown is live. And Tom, you've spent the day with the CEO.
Tim, unfortunately, COVID was back on Gill's agenda this afternoon. Collingwood's AFLW final looks like will have to be certainly rescheduled. I've spoken to Hawthorn tonight. They insist at this stage they'll be able to field a relatively normal men's side this weekend. Tim, meantime, strong momentum now for a twilight grand final and strong momentum for this, the grand final side, to be the regular and permanent season opener. Gillon McLachlan loved playing ruck at Toorak Park.
And when I played here, because it's a bit short, he can get across.
Back to his grassroots, it turns out the AFL boss is a turf expert.
Is it that long, the thinner one there?
Do you know this from the farm or just from footy?
Need to know grass.
No topic off limits. Do you think we could see the grand final rematch become a permanent fixture as the opening game of round 1?
We'll have a look at it. It's been raised a couple of times, but if it works and people want it, we'll stick with it. So it's a bit of a watching brief.
And what time do you want the grand final to be this year?
It's a commission decision, Tom. Certainly don't want it late, so it'll be sort of You know, the options, I think we've played a couple of twilights and obviously a day for 100 years, so they're the two options we'll go to the Commission.
Will the AFL contribute to a super salary for Alistair Clarkson?
For who?
For him to coach the Suns.
Oh, right. The Stuart Dew's the coach of the Suns. I think we're sort of running ahead on that.
So we can knock on the head this idea that the AFL somehow done some secret deal with Alistair Clarkson in the background to coach the Suns.
There's no secret deal.
James Hird, would the AFL support him coaching at a senior level again?
Of course.
McLaughlin following up with his own questions at the end.
And what about the other one over there?
It's the winter grass.
The ryegrass.
The ryegrass. Okay. Tom Brown, 7 News.
Richmond has received a huge boost ahead of tomorrow night's clash against Carlton. Andrew McCormack, the Tigers skipper, has defied the odds.
Oh, it's in. Dylan Grimes will take his place as co-captain for round 1 against the Blues. The Tigers defender had surgery on a detached thumb ligament just 10 days ago. He'll take on Carlton along with fellow skipper Toby Nankervis, who's out of isolation. For Carlton, Wiedering and Silvani Cummy, no Ed Curnow though, as the latest chapter in the Dacos legacy begins at Collingwood.
How are you, Dad? A phone call years in the making.
Congratulations.
Oh, he already knows.
Nick Dacos to fulfil his Collingwood destiny this Friday night.
Well done.
I'm so proud of you.
And it's quite fitting I'm debuting against the same team as you.
Will Hoskin-Elliott was set to prove his fitness today, but he's in COVID isolation, along with two of Craig McRae's key assistants. Brendan Bolton and Josh Fraser won't be in the coach's box on Friday night. Although the man known as Fly is still buzzing ahead of his coaching debut.
I'm loving this, I really am.
Mason Cox set to take his place in the Pies forward line. Jordan De Goey to play mainly as a forward in the opening rounds. Sam Walsh continues to make progress from ankle surgery. A return in round 3 looks most likely as another Lions champion begins a new coaching chapter.
As far as expectations go, I just want us to make sure that we stay together as a group right throughout the whole game, that we play for each other.
While Mitch Duncan has officially been ruled out of round 1 with a calf injury. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Craig Bellamy will become just the 4th NRL coach to reach 500 games. The Storm came together today for a barbecue to celebrate the occasion, with Bellamy to make a decision on his future in a fortnight despite being contracted until 2026. Storm face the Rabbitohs at Amy Park tomorrow night. Not long now, Mitch, until the opening bounce. Crowd building here, can't wait.
Me too, Tim, thank you. And back to you shortly. Right now, though, Jane is here with a look at the forecast.
Well, Mitchell, what a night for footy. That patchy light rain has all cleared out. We are set for a great night. Now, under the cloud, we had a low of 19 before a top of 23. Low pressure is approaching. A trough crosses Victoria later tomorrow into Friday as a cold front just clips our south. So thunderstorms return ahead of that trough. We have the slight risk of them tomorrow. And after the front, it'll feel a bit chilly on Friday with no humidity. A bit more like footy weather. Around the nation tomorrow, mostly dry in Brisbane and Sydney. Storms affect Adelaide overnight, then sunny tomorrow, sunny too in Perth. To Victoria, warm and humid, lots of sunshine. However, the blue there shows the risk of showers and heavy storms. Hit and miss activity with sunshine in between. The dotted trough line, that is a cool change coming into the southwest later. So Melbourne, it's warm and humid tomorrow. The city jumps up to 29 in lots of sunshine. Now, all of us have the slight risk of a thunderstorm, but not all of us will see one. On Friday, it is cooler. We're heading for a top of 21. There's a fair bit of cloud overhead, drizzly showers passing through. The weekend, great, about 25, bright sunshine all weekend. Heating up early next week before a cool change arrives later on Tuesday, and that should bring quite a bit of rain. So warm and humid tomorrow, top of 29. There is the slight risk of storms, otherwise lots of sunshine and great weather for the game tonight. Mitch, I can't wait.
Sounds great. Thank you, Jane. Now, Tim's back with us too. Before we go, who are we tipping in the AFL season opener?
Well, Mitch, in a fierce battle, I'm going for the Demons by a goal.
Ooh. How about you, Jane?
Oh, that is tight now. I'm going for the Demons as well. I went 20 points, so I'm expecting a great one.
Okay, I'll tip the Bulldogs just to be different. And that's the way it is this Wednesday, the 16th of March. Thanks for your company from here inside the MCG. Stay with us now as we take you to 7 Sports live coverage of the season opener, beginning with the unfurling of the Demons Premiership flag. Let's now join 7's Abby Gelmy.